welcome to the Wander Women's Collective podcast. I'm your host, Gracie Hins, and as always, I'm so psyched that you're tuning in today. Before we jump into the episode, if you could make sure to give us a thumbs up or a star wherever it is that you're listening, those reviews go a long way for us as a small podcast. I also have a few other things for Wander News today. We are just getting back from our ladies' social ride at Lost and Found, which we did in tandem with Comma Surfaces and Loose Program Cycling, and it was so rad to just meet so many of you out there on the trails, on bikes, just outside in the spaces and places that we absolutely love. And this week we'll actually be in Tahoe. So if you happen to be in the Tahoe area, make sure to go over to our Instagram and just see what we're up to and how you could potentially get involved. But I'm so psyched. Today's episode is with Lara Hamilton, an Australian trail runner and skimo athlete. And we just jump into all of the different fun facets of her journey and life and how she also balances running and athletics with DJing and music. So without further ado, here is today's episode, and I'm so psyched that you're here and listening today. My favorite question to just start off asking people is, who are you and what do you spend your time doing?
Yeah, I am Lara. Very basic intro, Lara Hamilton, and I'm from Australia, but I now live between the US and Europe, just following the ski mountaineering and trail running scene. And I guess outside of work, which is questionable right now, in my spare time, I am a pro mountain athlete and musician.
Oh my gosh. See, I'm that's just so many different titles of things. And then when I was thinking about it too, I was oh yeah, you're going for the 2026 Winter Olympics. I was that's a little bit out. And then I was that's actually not. I was that's this winter.
Yeah, and the first World Cup is 6 months away, so it's kind of funny because I've just started my trail season, heading into some races this weekend. But I just started my pre-season for skimo, and I was oh gosh.
It's pretty nuts. And I just feel these things do just totally sneak up. And you're oh, so much time. And then you're nope, we're living in 2025. That's very, very soon. But I'd love to just jump into, I feel we're in the middle of trail season right now. So kind of just a little bit of background on your experience and how you got into trail and where you're at now, what you're excited about.
Yeah, so I started running kind of out of Nordic skiing at the end of high school. I just wasn't having a lot of success in the sport, and coming from Australia, it can be really hard to access the snow and compete as often as you need and then travel. So I was just running around for cross training and not really seeing trail running and road running and track running as any different from each other. I just ran. Sometimes they would give us poles at training camps up in the Alps in Australia. I'd be just run. And I didn't really categorize them right. So I guess you could say from a young age I was trail running. But I found the sport much more accessible and started to post some pretty good results around my second year of uni, and then got a scholarship to come over to Boise State in USA, which is kind of why I'm here now. I just stayed on. But trail running wise, COVID happened, and I also had all these pains in my body and unexplainable. No one could figure out what it was. But the one respite I had found was running on dirt and variable terrain, because that consistent pounding was really aggravating my joints, which later turned out to be an ankylosing spondylitis diagnosis. But, looking at the positives of that, to jump ahead a bit, if it wasn't for that diagnosis and that pain, I wouldn't be a full-on mountain athlete now. So I'm actually kind of thankful in a way.
Well, and do you want to dive into a little bit of, I'm going to just butcher the pronunciation of that. Wait,
That's okay.
Okay, we can go
Just
with
say
AS.
AS.
Yeah.
AS. We're all good.
What is that? How does it affect your life?
Yeah, so it's a bit of a mouthful, but if you break it down, it's a rheumatological, so something in the arthritic category, autoimmune, so my body attacks itself, inflammatory condition. So it's something you're born with. It's genetic. No one in my family has this particular one, but a couple generations back, there's a similar condition, and I've picked it up. It kind of made sense with how it jumps in the family line.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially, without treatment, your spine starts to fuse slowly over time, which then makes you not able-bodied. Luckily, I have access to regular medication. I'm on a scholarship for it. They're around $6,000 a dose. I can't afford
Mm-hmm.
it. um, and that keeps me like able-bodied. I do have a couple of fusions in my spine and issues with my sacroiliac joints, which does make running painful, but I have a few good days a week, and it's kind of unpredictable. But I'm so used to management now and used to just the low-grade pain that it feels
Mm-hmm.
more normal to me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, and when was it that you got that diagnosis?
21 at the end of it. So I guess I was 23 and I'm almost 27 now. So you don't really find out about it until your mid 20s because then you start, things start to come up. And when you're a runner, they go, oh, you're just injured or you just ran too much. But there's a point when you take 8 to 9 months off and you don't know why you're taking 8 to 9 months off and nothing's getting better and it starts to become quite suspicious. It's a very hard process diagnosing these kind of conditions. And I feel for people who are going through that or have gone through it recently.
Well, and like, I mean, even like mentally, like, what was that like with these chronic illnesses? It's so hard because the diagnosis is just like such a process to figure that out. I think what you're saying too is just like you have this going on in your body. It's so hard to like tell people about it, I feel like, because it's just kind of like, like there's this pain here, this pain here, this issue here, but it's not just something that you can draw like a really linear line between. And so when you were going through that whole diagnosis and like taking that 8 or 9 months off, like how was that for you? And like what was kind of the frustrations around that as well?
Yeah, to this day, I think it's still one of the darkest times of my life, and I'm young, so I'm sure we've got more ahead, but that's okay because I'm better equipped now. But essentially, it was COVID, and the only way to get back to Australia was to do a 2 week hotel quarantine where you're not allowed to leave the room. So I didn't know what was wrong with me. Yeah, it's all good. I had to leave the US, so I was leaving behind like almost 3 years of what I built outside of home in a beautiful place like Boise. You had trails, and even though there was some difficulties with the NCAA and COVID and all of that, I built a life. So I'm saying goodbye to that, which was hard. Transitioning from college to the workforce. I can't run. I also later found out that I was insulin resistant, and so like my whole diet had to change because my pancreas gets inflamed. Everything gets inflamed in this condition, lungs. So like I started to change shape as well. I'm going, what the hell is going on? Then I get shoved in this 14 days solo in a country that I haven't been to in ages, and I'm like, I have to recreate my life in COVID, and yeah, I have this unknown pains everywhere. And like I can't run on a treadmill; it just hurt too much. So I got a spin bike put in the room, but then sitting on the bike seat hurt too much. So I basically did not much at all. I invested in like education, taught myself more about digital marketing, which I work in now. But it was a really hard time to navigate. And I thank my family for helping me get across the line in a diagnosis. Mum's a sport and exercise physician, and she wouldn't stop until she had answers. And, they're a bit curious too. They're like, look at this athlete presenting like this who takes time off and nothing heals. Like, what is wrong? And yeah, thanks to a good team, we found out what it was. But it was fair to say there was a few times where they told me you need to find a different sport. You can't keep doing this swimming, low impact. But I'm stubborn. I was like, nope, I'm gonna keep going.
What was kind of the time frame of like figuring out, okay, I need to figure out what this is to like, okay, I have an answer.
Yeah, I mean, now looking back at my college career, I would race a race, do pretty well, and then I just wouldn't be able to walk. Like something was wrong with my feet, and then they would send you to the team doctor and you get MRIs, and they'd be like, nothing's wrong with your feet. Then they would send you to the psychologist, and they would be like, it's in your head, because it's not presenting on an image. So I felt a little crazy, but I wasn't crazy. And we figured it out. But so there was those signs throughout college that something was wrong, but nothing was wrong. And then yeah, I got home, had great medical care, figured it out, and probably from December of 21 when I managed to land a job back in Boise because I was like, I need to go back. This is where the mountains are. This is where I love it. Um, Moved back over and just started training again. Not without its challenges, but start again.
And then was it pretty immediately that you started competitively running again when you got back to Boise?
I mean, I tried to compete. I wasn't really sure what to do. I thought, oh, maybe ultra running is better for me because it's not such sharp, quick movements on joints that aren't as flexible. So I did. I spent 22 mostly doing longer things and actually found it harder to do that. So then from 23 onwards, I moved to more sub ultra stuff. And actually found myself to have a really good engine and build now for things that are like a vertical distance, 5K,
Yeah.
10K. Um, but yeah, it's been a lot of challenges like changing medications because there's a lot of different injections you can take for this condition, but they wear out. Like your body recognizes it doesn't work anymore. You have to move over. And so this is just something that you navigate alongside sporting careers and just life in general.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like there's been any like life rhythms or just like things that if you do it like every day, you've kind of like helped just make this process a little bit easier?
Yeah, and it took me until October of last year to figure out, and at great expense to me. I'm in the gym every day, and that doesn't mean I'm doing weights, but I am doing something to aid this condition, whether it's like a flossing technique or stretching, mobility, strength, resistance, anything. And that is how I like keep myself pieced together. It's kind of insane, and I have a home routine and a travel routine. But it's just like what I have to do if I want to be competitive and want to run first and foremost just healthy out there and enjoy it and not be in pain.
Just being able to take that time and space every day to just like do what you need to do.
I've found it therapeutic in some ways. Like I'm not going in the gym to crank heavy weights every day, but I put on calm music and I just try and focus on breathing and tell the body it's okay to relax here. So environment's also important. Some gyms I just can't go at peak hour. If there's a bunch of people around me, it doesn't work. It is specific, but you got to do what you got to do when you're managing health.
Well, and what is kind of like your travel schedule looked like? I'm like trying to imagine too with like there's the snow element of this. You're working, there's Australia, there's the US. Like how has like I mean, the last kind of like year of your life looked like with that, and then like how is it going to be looking like looking at this next year as well, especially like factoring in like all of the Olympic potential craziness too.
Hectic, really hectic. And my new mantra is learn to find stability where your feet are, because there is going to be, and there has been, no stability in every definition of that word, like a place to live. And where is home? I know where home is in my heart and soul, and where home is where I'm from. And I have a couple different places in the world that I resonate with. But the life and the path I've chosen, when you go after a really big goal, it is true what they say. You kind of have to sacrifice almost everything. Like I'm selling my car, I need the money. I am going to be living kind of nomadically. All of my friends have decided to get married this year, yay! And I have to go to the weddings. So it's like, oh, amongst the trail running season and the ski mountaineering season and things like that, family and friends are really important to me. So I'm gonna go. And so up next, we are in Vale this weekend, which I'm very excited for because it blends art, music, sport, all the things that I love into
I know
one
I
big
saw this and I
weekend.
was like, wait, that looks epic. I wish I could make it out.
Yeah, yeah, it's well worth it if you get the chance. And then I am off to Broken Arrow, which I am nervous for because it's a very, very competitive race. Amazing how many accolades it's got now, and well done
Mm.
to Brendan and the team for that one. So many good people on start line, and I am 7 weeks off skis. Like, let's see how well this is going to go. But I'm excited to put my best foot forward. And then from Reno Airport, I will fly to the Pyrenees and live there basically for 4 or 5 months. But probably longer. I mean, it will be home base, but
Okay.
not without a quick trip home for a wedding and going to the Alps for a chunk of time. We've got Golden Trail, Sierra Zinal, World Cup mountain running races, quite a few verticals, which I absolutely love.
Hmm.
And, likely the World Championships in Canfrac I probably butchered that, in late September. And then probably some time off, maybe Golden Trail Series finals, but like this is way too far out for me to determine how I'll be feeling. And then we start the skimo season, which is back in the US. So off I go again. I think I'll do a couple months here to prepare for that over in Solitude in Utah, and then I'm on the path to, as of now, prepare for the Olympics, having met the qualifying standard.
Okay. Well, and when are the qualifying, like when does that kind of start? Because I feel like for every sport and year, it's always changing a little bit, and like skimo is also new, and so it kind of has like that whole element of it as well. But like, when is it that you'd probably know, like, okay, like I'm going to be in Milano Cortina, like, yeah,
Yeah, it's different for every area. So the Oceania region is different to, say, the
right.
North America to the European. Um, and we have had many trial races already. And for my country, there was standard set like tiers that you had to meet. And for the women so far, I'm the only one to have hit the auto standard. So with one race remaining in December, I'm aiming to go out there and do really well. But
Hmm.
I am on a path right now. They call us aspiring Olympians, preparing as if I'm going.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So we're getting ready. We're planning the season. All of that. Yeah.
Wow. Well, and how did you land on like sort of home basing in the Pyrenees this summer?
Yeah, so I spent about a month living there over February in Font-Romeu, and I loved it. I could ski in the morning or the afternoon and run outside of that, and that's my dream. Or just being able to choose. My body doesn't feel good running today, so I'm going to ski, yada yada, and it's perfect altitude. I found I could recover and also get some of those adaptations, and for me, it's unique to every individual, the response you'll get, but I perform really well when I live high and
Mm-hmm.
then go down and compete low or compete high. So that
Mm-hmm.
1800 meters, 1900 meters just worked
Mm-hmm.
fantastically. Whereas when I lived up in Crested Butte, I found it quite hard to recover.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a lot of room to be a super busy person like me with the music, and I just get brain fog. Couldn't create anything. Yeah.
No, that totally makes sense. Well, and where is that in the Pyrenees? Like I'm like thinking in my head like the kind of like line with like, the Spanish side, or it's all Spain and France, but like down near the Mediterranean and then up near the
Yeah.
Atlantic. So like in that, where is it in the middle?
Yeah, yeah. So it's on the French side,
Okay.
below Andorra, not too far at all from Spain, and about an hour and a half northeast, northwest. Don't you love that? I was actually never taught these things at school. I don't know where I was when they were doing all the critical things, but I had to go and learn this myself as a kid. I was like, no one taught me my left and right to north, south, east, west, and all of that. I just
Yeah,
remember
yeah.
learning it with all the hand gestures. So
Uh-huh.
that's that. We'll ignore that. I promise I'm not so stupid. But an hour and a half from Perpignan up north, northwest.
Okay, okay, that's okay,
Yeah.
that's a super cool spot. And just oh my gosh, like that whole area is so beautiful too, and like yeah, good spot to be. So are you like
Yeah.
renting a house, or are you kind of bouncing around the whole time?
Yeah, so I have pieced together the most affordable way of doing this, and also thanks to friends I've made just from because I was in the area 3 or 4 weeks ago as well, just to further make connections and explore it in a different season. So I'm house sitting for a little while, and then I'm moving across the Alps. And between race accommodations that's provided, I don't know yet, but we'll figure that out. I do have family in Switzerland, and a lot of family friends in France, so I'm hoping that side's okay. And then to prepare for World Championships, I'll be staying at the Athlete Centre over there, which it's become like a second home. I know all the staff and I love it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know it's such a classic, like piece it all together, see how it works. It does get, I mean, I don't know how you get with like, I feel like whenever I'm like moving every week, it does get hard, and like it is hard to not have that home base. But when you do have those places that feel a little bit like home, it does make such a big difference.
Yeah, familiarity, I think, is going to be an important thing, and whether that's to do with the place or the people around me. Um, I need a bit of that because I've come off, it's hard to be a dual athlete and compete at the high level in both. And I am feeling almost a little burnt out from the travel side of things, but physically I'm healthy. And the mental state, that is you're able to shift and change that, and you could do it within a day or a week. So I'm not too worried.
Well, and so now I'm curious, like your whole skiing background and like being in Australia, I don't really think of that much snow when I think of Australia. Like I can think of like two places. But like how was it your family that got you into like the skiing side of it? And then like also kind of like what kept you going with skiing as you got older? Because you were saying like, you know, you kind of ended to run a lot as well with like that training. And so like what kind of kept you psyched on like the ski element of it too?
Yeah, so it's a really cool thing when your parents gift you learning a sport and you don't remember learning it. So you just grew up with it. Um, Very much appreciate that from mum and dad, learning how to surf and learning how to downhill ski and Nordic ski. Dad was a World Cup Nordic skier in the 80s. So he was my first, and I say this very lightly, coach because he doesn't coach me, but he, would take me and my sister out, and mum will come with us too, and we would all, as a family, start with classic skiing, which literally is just like walking in the snow when you're a kid and falling over a lot because Nordic skis are crazy. The heels come out and there's no edges. Um, so that was the start of it. And then just naturally, when the schools offer that as a program, you would go and compete against the other schools in the winter. And it was a 6 hour drive from my house, but we had always this plan. And I got time off school. I loved it. Would
Hmm.
leave on, I used to get the last class off on Friday. I had to do it homeschooling, and we would drive. And I would compete Saturday, compete Sunday, sometimes get to spend Sunday afternoon skiing, and then come back to school Monday. I loved it. And I realized now it was like priming me for this kind of lifestyle in a sense, where it's like focus here and then switch back to here and then look forward to that come the next weekend. And that was normal for me and a lot of other my teammates who went to school in the city.
I think it is interesting when you do look at that pattern too of like, okay, focus here for a little bit and then focus here for a little bit. And I feel like that's like so how my brain works as well of like, okay, I can spend a week like focusing on this thing and then like switch and it's like, okay, now I'm jumping 100% into the next. So so were you competing with Nordic like up until you left Australia or like how was that?
Yeah, Nordic skiing was a really big part of my life and my main sport until about 2015, so my final year of high school. But I'd started to dabble in running because I noticed I need to take my training up a notch if I want to be a good Nordic skier. And I went overseas for Nordic skiing. I went to Seefeld in Austria and did camps to get better. And I came home and it was summer because it was winter in Europe, and I just started entering running races and started winning. And I was like, maybe I should get a coach. So I got a coach. Still have the same coach for 9 years now. Run Crew, love them. Um, and then that was that. They encouraged me to enter cross country running races, which I thrive in more than track. I think I just love hills and sand and mud and dirt, and sometimes I'd throw a couple log jumps in there. And then naturally, it makes sense that I started to explore trails because if you think about it, it's very similar in the way that you have to be tactical with the course and things like that.
Yeah. And then like the schemo element of this. So then you're doing all this running, and then how did schemo come about?
Yeah, so I had backcountry skied before, but I owned frame bindings from 1998, the heaviest things you've ever felt. But nonetheless, there's still skins involved, and you still went up the hill and skied down, but not like we do these days. Um, so naturally, I always had a curiosity for this lightweight kind of stuff. And when I moved to Gunnison after college, I saw everyone was doing it and wrote to Dina Fit and said, if I trade you some marketing, will you send me some skis because I couldn't afford it. And the agreement was that. And I got it set up, very thankful, and just started doing it and met some people in this valley who are enthusiastic. And there's a women's group. Then I started entering races. And the Nordic to skimo transitions, they help each other so much, particularly the classic skiing. Like the movement and the recruitment, I'd almost say is harder in Nordic because you haven't really got the surface area um, or the grip. So I don't know, it felt kind of seamless and it all fits, right? Living in a super snowy place, you've got trail running and the Nordic skiing, and then skimo wasn't such a huge leap from those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I mean, it's like such a happy combination of everything else that you were already doing, and like, I mean, I also just love the schemo element too because you're just going uphill. And being in Colorado, that makes a lot of sense as well.
Yeah. There's so much cool terrain to explore out here, and lift skiing for me just isn't it. Like, I do lift ski to practice my downhill skiing on those tiny skis, but you know, I want to be in places you can only access by foot and in the wintertime, so you got to put a pair of backcountry skis on to do that.
Mm-hmm. What took you to Colorado in the first place?
I came over, I had visited, and I really liked it. I love the mountains in Gunnison. I love how you can go up to Crested Butte and you have high alpine, and then in Gunnison you have the low desert. It's not the low desert; it's high desert. And you can run down here in the winter on the snow, the fat bike trails as well. But you also have Nordic trails everywhere, here, up there, ski mountaineering. And I thought, you know what, I could see myself staying in this place, so I stayed and I built community. And when you build community, you are able to invest in your passions even more than a city, I think, because there's more opportunities to do music because you just speak to one person away from who you know. Like, you're only ever one person away from that contact, right? So you start getting gigs and linking up with people to trail run because it's so small. So you know, connect with people who have a similar interest in a much easier way, I think, than a city of 4 or 5 million.
Mm-hmm. No, that's so true. Well, and like, okay, so how does music all start to play into your life?
Yeah. So, fun fact is when I was finishing high school, I did like a high level of music in high school because in Australia you pick your subjects for the final few years, and I picked music. I didn't know what I wanted to do when I left school. I was really lost. People, oh, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be a doctor. I was like, I don't know. And my family were like, just do something that you enjoy. And I chose music, which is a really, it's unconventional in terms of like you might not get a career out of it. And I chose singing too. It's not like I'm going to go and join the Sydney Symphony Orchestra or audition for it. Um, and the degree I did was opera singing. So I did an undergraduate in music studies specializing in voice, and then I got a scholarship to Boise State and did a master's of opera performance. Um, and I thrived. I did really well. I love telling stories through voice. You sing a lot of other people's repertoire, but you know, the composers of those songs were trying to communicate something and you can relate it to your own personal story and then express that to an audience. And, there's times where you move an audience to tears and you know that you have done your job, but it's also like I am channeling something I felt. And that is the most beautiful thing. Um, and now I do write a lot of music. I haven't produced a lot of it. I have gone into more DJing because I found it a way for me to keep music in my life whilst traveling so much and prioritizing sport at this time. So I can like play gigs, I can create mixes, and I can do it on the road. I tested it out this season. I'm like producing mixes in hotel rooms. I go, okay, this is good. Whereas my ability to songwrite and record just wasn't as much because I need to be very present. A lot of my songs are about things I've experienced in my life, traveling and moving around so much. So I just have always said I need to have that creative outlet to be a good person, a good runner. Because sometimes I feel down, I'll just go on a run and I'm going to listen to like a mix that I made and I feel proud of myself. I'm like, I made this, and at the time it captures what I felt. And the run goes by really fast and I'm in pain from AS and I just help myself in a really unique way.
Hmm. No, that totally makes sense. And I also just feel like, I mean, even personally, like right music in the right run, there's like there's nothing better than that.
I know it's like, uh-oh, your favorite song comes on, you're like, oh, we're running way too fast. And especially in the winter, I sometimes wear my headphones, and people make fun of me for it, but there's a reason. And my ears are warm, and I'm like, I can't hear my breathing. And I was like, oh, that was way too fast to a recovery run. But like,
But it's
this song
fine.
came on.
It's just
Yeah.
it's way more fun that way. So when you're traveling, are you like do you have all of your DJ equipment with you right now?
Yeah, it's coming with me, and it came with me for the last 7 weeks because I had a deadline with this radio station, and we got it done. But it taught me a lot. I really loved the process of, I had a set morning training session on this training camp. Then I would come home, I would try to recoup, eat, and then just focus on my music for a few hours. And then I would almost find it hard to leave to go to my next training session. But then it got to such a fun time that my coach was like, you can put the music on in the gym, and we can like test the sample whilst you're doing training. I was like, this is the life. Like I can listen to my demos whilst training, like on a loudspeaker. It was great. So yeah, I hope to keep it up.
Okay, yeah. That's pretty, I mean, that sounds like a dream day right there. Like make some music,
Y- Yeah,
get your
yeah.
workouts in, combine it all. Well, and like what's kind of your day-to-day looking like right now, or at least for the next like month?
Yeah, it's a little hectic. It's not as cruisy as that. So there's a lot of costs involved, and I have been, as most of us have experienced, yet to secure any form of decent sponsorship and support. So I have to support myself, and I'm thankful for a lot of donations to get me across the line last season.
Mm-hmm.
But I picked up. I have my own business. Whether it's official or not is questionable. But I get contractual work, and I can build websites and grow small businesses online. And I have a lot of tactics around that because I use it for myself when I have time. So I have clients, and most of them are in the outdoors, sustainability, outdoor fashion kind of industries. So that's helping me a lot right now.
Mm-hmm. So spending some time doing that during the day and then wrapping and training.
Trainings like morning. So sometimes I wake up and I'm like, oh, I need to hop on some calls. So it's work depending on the client's time zone, or it's, train, then the calls. And then lunchtime's normally mobility or gym, or like after dinner. Gym can fit in either side, and then second training's always in the afternoon. And I just slot in things in between that. Yeah, you just make it work.
The marketing, like starting that whole kind of like side of things too, did you just like kind of figure out like, okay, I have this like interest and kind of like skill set of marketing, or like how did you kind of decide, okay, I'm going to start my like own mildly unofficial business?
Yeah, so I have been doing marketing since high school. I worked for mum's friend's business and social media. I just needed extra money. And then I have been doing like on and off jobs since then. So I think I have like 10 years of experience. My first job before I started down this huge path of sporting goals was at a marketing agency for 2.5 years. And then I worked a couple other odd jobs. And yeah, now it's like mainly all sports marketing or somewhat sports related and contractual. I guess it started ages ago, and I have listened to tons of podcasts. I've had mentors. I've worked in agency settings, big and small, and you just piece all of that experience together, and you make it work. And I'm actually so thankful, even though you strapped for cash at times, and that's just part of it. Um, that some of these jobs allow me to work flexibly from where I am. Otherwise, this just totally would not be possible.
Yeah. Well, and like for you, sponsorship qualms, like
Yeah.
how, I'm so curious, like how has this kind of like route been for you, and like what's been helpful, what like I don't know. Yeah, I'd like just love to hear a little bit
Yeah.
more of like how that has all been.
Yeah, and I want to give full disclosure because I think it's really helpful to everyone to kind of understand what it's like. So, things on Instagram look pretty, and I don't by any means have a lot of followers. And quite frankly, I wish I could quit Instagram, but it's not conducive with the
Not
path that I've
possible.
chosen right now,
Yeah.
exactly. And so I try and take the good with it, but understand it's a platform set up to push you content, sell things, and comparison. And I don't want any part of that. So yeah, I don't have any sponsors. Vale GoPro Mountain Games has helped me so much with exposure, with getting me across the line at World Cup and now with the upcoming weekend. So I'm so thankful to them. And I get some gear here and there from different brands. I'm extremely grateful. But the reality is, in the world we live in, it's not always logical who gets sponsored or how sponsorship comes about. So I try and not compare or say A plus B must equal C. But I face a unique challenge where I don't live in my home country. They they don't want to support you, but the catch 22 is I don't live in my home country because I want to line up against the best in the world to get better. And do it in a cost effective way. So, as someone who can run quite a few races a year because of the distances I've chosen, that means being in Europe, that means being in the US. And it is working, and I love it. And I have become, not just from sport, but just from having to piece things together in foreign countries and small towns. And, someone from so far away from all these places, we might speak English, but it's like, it is a different world everywhere you go. Um, yeah, like I don't regret it at all, but they just don't want to support you if you're not there, feet on ground, which is really hard because you're like, well, if I did get support, I would come back more often, but it just seems out of the picture a little bit right now. So then my next thing is just writing lots of emails, lots and lots of emails, but not just emails. My advice to everyone is get creative. So I'm writing pitches where it's like, what do I offer outside of sport, and how does that relate to the product or the company that sells X product that I want? So like
Right.
I'm trying to blend music with sport, and I'm like,
Right. Yeah.
hey, a headphone sponsor would be super cool because I am using the headphones on runs to further produce music. I'm saying this is what my mix sounds like, or my song in headphones. The quality sounds like this. On a car, it sounds like this. Let's do a collab and let's merge the worlds. So that's creative, and you're more likely to get the brand's attention, and it's a win-win for both sides. But, it's a really harsh world out there.
I
You
see
don't
the
do it.
advertisement for that one in my head though, and I'm like, that's
Yeah.
beautiful. Just like an epic mix with like just like a really cool cut, like running down a mountainside with a headphone on. Oh, that'd be good.
I know, I do. I like sit at home. I'm like, wow, if only I had the resources to create this whole marketing campaign. Because as a
Yep,
digital
this is
growth marketer, I see the whole scope. I'm like, but no budget.
yep, no, I
um,
fully understand that.
yeah. So and it is hard, and I would do it even if I had, and I do, not very little support, but. The support you do have is friends and family and teammates and people who believe in you. And when you start to get demoralized by all of that side of things, you think about what you do have. And I'm not perfect at this, but just practicing gratefulness because, if it comes, it comes. If it doesn't come, it doesn't come. Either way, I'm still going to do it, and I'm still going to get myself across the line because I know I'm pretty thrifty with that stuff.
But oh my gosh, the world of sponsors, not fun. And like I think it is so interesting too, like talking about the social media side of it as well. And like I do think it's so interesting when you kind of look at like the world that we do live in, where it's like you if you are an athlete, like there isn't really that much of a question about like you do have to have some sort of social media presence at this point in time. But if you're not somebody that like is a natural interest, or you're just like I don't really want to have that much of a role in this, then like how is it that you go about still being able to promote yourself but in a way that you're actually like okay with. I don't know. I feel like I find that conversation so interesting, but then like the flip-flop side of that too is that then you have like, people who might be a little bit more drawn towards that social media side that are more that like kind of like influencer creator and then happen to do sport. And so I don't know. I always just find that like really
Yeah.
interesting of like, how is it that we could like better almost create this ecosystem where like the people that don't love doing that could then like somehow like partner with somebody that does love doing it, where you can like work together and like create this cool way that you can like uplift athletes in a way. I don't know. That's
There
been
you
on
go,
Gracie's like
Gracie. You just created a business plan, a business
I
idea.
know. It's honestly been one of my like wander business ideas of like, okay, how is it that you can get and like even with like people, I think like this is my other little like side piece too of like just like women in media and like women with cameras behind their hands. Like depending on the space that you're in, like the outdoor adventure space, there are just not enough women with cameras in their hands. And so like how is it that you could both like uplift and support those women to then help the athletes so that you're creating this content that is something that then you could send to a brand and be like, hey, this is super valuable. Because I just feel like every single person, an athlete, like has something unique that they can offer. And like, with you, it's like there's the music side of this, which is awesome. And like what you're saying, like that totally elevates what you're doing in your athletics as well. It's just like figuring
Yeah.
out how to like piece that together and like make that a really symbiotic relationship.
Yeah, it's like taking the story because we all have a story
Mm-hmm.
and marketing it, which sounds inauthentic, but it is kind of it's what you have to do these days. But if I'm going to do that, if I'm going to jump on board the marketing train, then how am I going to do it in a way that inspires people and also teaches people it's okay to have so many passions that are diverse and it's actually possible to do it all. Maybe you can't have it all at once because no, you can't, but you can do it all at different times. And, maybe you get injured and you lean on the other thing because, identity for athletes is a big thing. So it's like good to be well rounded for sure.
Is it GoPro games or what is this thing that's happening this weekend?
Yeah, it's the Mountain Games. And GoPro is like a title sponsor, and it's hosted by Vale Valley Foundation. And it runs from Thursday right through to Sunday. There's running, there's biking, there's whitewater, stand-up paddleboarding, speed climbing, event activations, DJs, live music. Um, yeah, and I've gone overboard and I'm excited to go overboard. I'm racing 3 times. I'm jumping on some DJ decks. I was like, why not? Like, it's been so long since I've gone. I have really huge goals with skimo, so I need to also really enjoy the running season and not put too much pressure on myself. So I'm just gonna go and I'm just gonna participate in as much as possible. And if I do well, I do well. And if it's not where it should be right now, that's totally fine too.
Mm-hmm.
So
What
yeah.
events are you competing in?
Well, I decided to shock the system back to altitude. We're doing
Mm-hmm.
5K on Friday. Then Saturday's a rest day. Saturday's like connecting with all my friends. A bunch of them from the valley here are coming out, and friends that I never see before from haven't seen in ages. Sorry, from the trail team. Saturday will just be about music and fun and cheering them on. And Sunday, the 10K, and then this awesome event called Peppy's Face Off, where you do as many laps of this 400-foot climb ski run as possible. Um, so I have been stress training, scrambling with poles because I haven't touched a pair of poles in quite a few weeks after ski season deliberately. I was like, no, you need to get the poles out again, like to go up the ski run. So yeah.
Oh my goodness, that'll be fun. Well, and then is the next thing Broken Arrow after that?
Yeah. So
Okay.
that'll be the VK and the 23K, and then hopefully attending the Trail Con, which I'm super excited about.
So will you be up in the Tahoe area for like a couple weeks or just a week?
From Wednesday right through to the end of TrailCon.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would love to stay for Western States, but I need to get moving on to Europe before the World Cup mountain running season starts.
Yeah. Well, I feel like it's hard too because it's like there's just this time of year there's just so many events and they just all stack up and it's like you got to keep moving and grooving and like the weekend of Western States there's like three other events that I'm like wow, I wish I could like body double and like be at that one too.
Exactly. But that's the joy of it because no 2 years have to look the same.
Yeah, no, that's super true. I'm also curious, so you were on the like trail team for a year, is that right? Like
Yeah.
how I feel like I'm so curious because I like kind of know a bit about trail team, but then I also don't really know anything about it. And so I'd like love to hear how you kind of got involved in that and like what that year kind of looked like and like how they support athletes and like all of that.
Yeah. So Andy and Carly founded it, and it's a way for athletes who are unsponsored but up and coming or making that transition, or not necessarily transition from NCAA to trail running, but like wanting to do both and explore that in a way that's supported. So you have teammates, you have a place to go at races, maybe it's shared accommodation, shared warm ups, support. Basically, the whole thing is founded on supporting each other, growing the youth trail running community, and developing us to be that next generation of athletes in that space. So I applied, I was in the club and I'm in the club still, but last year I was on the elite side, and that's a select few athletes who go through an interview process who get that little bit of extra support and media and are able to really aim for the stars with their goals that year. Um,
Mhm.
so without the trail team, I wouldn't have been able to attend most of the races that I did because the cost of accommodation and rental cars is astronomical. Um, and the amount of job insecurity I've gone through just being foreign and on visas and stuff is also astronomical. So it's just it really helped me piece together seasons each year. I've tried to make a life here and do this.
Yeah. No, it seems really, really cool. And just like talking with people that have been a part of it, I just feel like I'm like shocked that there's not more things out there that are like a similar concept. Just because it does seem like such a cool way to be able to support people and like get more media on athletes and just like, yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, and then you never go to a trail race really and not see someone like the exposure to friends
Hmm.
all over the world has
Right.
been the biggest gift. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. And like, what does your community kind of look like right now? You
You know,
have
in,
people
in
everywhere.
town or just everywhere. I feel very lucky. Having been away for 7 weeks, coming back to town here in Gunnison it's been really hard, but in the most beautiful kind of way because everywhere I go, I don't know what it is. I've been so excited to come back somewhere familiar after being on the road. I'll be riding on the trails, and then as like one of my best girlfriends, just riding her bike, she's like, Lara, and I'm like, we're literally in the middle of nowhere, like, hi. Or at the store or across the street. So I was like, hey, Lara, and you don't, you feel sometimes alone traveling this much and not, changing time zones. So just to come back and feel so welcome, it's made me go, this place is always going to be special to me no matter where I am. I don't really resonate with the big city in that way because it's just not as communal, and maybe some people would disagree, but I am a country girl through and through. And but in Australia also just that trail community and some of the music community, you just connect with those people and they get it. A lot of us are doing the same thing.
Hmm. No, and that's like the most important part too of just like people that get it. I feel like
Yeah.
it's like you can walk when you can like walk into an event or a room and you just are like everybody gets it. It's like the best feeling ever. And I feel like especially when you are kind of doing this unconventional life, there's people from all parts of your life that either, get it or don't, or like there's almost like a certain level of like understanding that some people will kind of put into it. And then other people are like, no, like that's totally my life too. And those are the moments that I feel like you feel like seen, heard, known, and loved in a
And
super
that
cheesy way.
is what is most important at the end of the day after all of these adventures.
Well, in the beginning of this year, were you mostly in Australia?
What was I doing? Oh, at the beginning of this year, no, I was in the US and then on that World Cup circuit for skimo.
What does the Schemo World Cup circuit look like?
My favorite thing in the whole world. Like, I had an absolute blast, and then I got kind of a little bit sad for a few weeks because I was like, that wasn't reality, but it was my reality, and now what do I do? So you move from World Cup location to World Cup location because every second weekend, really, there's races. And you're competing on your national team, which has been pre-selected. So there was a handful of us, and not all of us compete at every race, but we did have a couple races this season where we were all in one spot. And it's so fun because you go to opening ceremonies, closing ceremonies, shared dinners. You might not be competing in all the events, so you can cheer each other on. We were very lucky this season, being a pre-Olympic year and Olympic selection season. We had wax tech, we had coaches, we had support, and that extends from like on ground support to emotional support, and friendship and all of that. Um, and then you're seeing all these amazing places that you would never really go to, I don't think. I went to Boital in Spain and Morgins in Switzerland, and um, in between that, I did a bit of exploring and stayed with friends. And yeah, it was a whirlwind, but you feel really special because you're following this community that moves. Like you start to know the other athletes and the announcers and all of this. So you're a part of something much bigger than yourself. Phenomenal experience.
Did you have a favorite race?
Yeah, I really like the Olympic test event in Bormio in Italy, because it's how the Olympics are going to be. So it was very hyped up, but fun. They played like tech music that really hyped you up at the start line, and the whole village was really set up. But my favorite race experience, well, it was the final race, not the final race of the season, second last race of the season, but my expertise, which is the vertical. And I'm in Austria, and I thought, I have absolutely nothing to lose. Like, I might just push myself to a point I've never been to before. If I black out and don't finish, I black out and don't finish. Um, and I think I was like sleepwalking in a way that I was like so above. I think I hit like 206 heart rate. Not that you like care about stats, but for me, like this is not safe. And just like passed out across the line, but did super well in this vert. And so I was so proud of myself, and I was like, what a way to kind of cap the season off. Like I didn't really feel like I had anything left, but you do always have another gear.
Well, and kind of like before a race, do you have anything that you do that like calms the nerves or just like things that you feel like kind of get you set up for success?
Yeah, it's kind of weird because I didn't ever really plan for it to be this. But I get so really internally stressed that I just go overboard on self-care. So we're doing like Epsom salt baths. So I need to wash my hair and I need to blow dry it because I never do this. I'm like scrappy person normally really like true trail runner. And like, oh, I didn't shave my legs for like how many weeks? So I was like, no, we're gonna like because it takes me into like such small, simple self-care movements, kind of in a mindful way that I don't think about the race. I'm like, oh, I'm brushing my hair and like plucking my eyebrows or whatever, or moisturizing my body, and then I have a nap, and then I might read a book. I'm just focusing on these very simple things. Yeah.
I feel like that's a good thing to go overboard for before a competition. Like there could be other worse
Yeah,
things
because
to
like you
go
spend your
overboard
whole
on.
life exactly like I spend my whole time kind of just rushing around and not taking those pauses, and then before a race, I blocked out time to take those pauses. Yeah.
Kind of like going back to a little bit of like this nomadic reality that you live. Um, like what are the things that get you continue I mean like I can imagine like there's like the traveling community that keeps getting you excited. There's obviously you're doing what you love, which is going to keep you excited. But what are kind of those so like other elements of it that kind of keep you going? And then also what are some of the things that you do feel like you just struggle the most with?
Yeah. I'll start with the struggles because the struggles, when you can work through them, and they're always there, allow you to keep going, right? So it might not look like it, but right now I'm going through a period of a lot of struggle, just because it, the constant travel, when Australia's your home, it's so far away. So like, and visas are in question. When you need to get a new visa, whether it be for Europe, which I have secured, or the US, you have to go home and do that, and then you have to come back. And I like going home and connecting with my family and friends and being in a place that I don't have to think about things too much. It's just autopilot. But to lead the life that I'm trying to live and see through these dreams, and there'll always be more dreams and goals. You have to have that side of it, that travel, and then finding the cost to do that. And then you stop and think, like it's a deeper moral question, like why am I doing this? What is my why? Um, and actually, I can't really answer it for you other than I just love it. Like I'm a passion person. I strongly believe, and this is my morals, if I can avoid it, I don't want to sit in a cubicle. I don't want to work a 9 to 5 because tomorrow's not given. Um, and when I am old, if I am lucky enough to, be there and family around me, hopefully, I'll tell them stories, really awesome stories about what I did, and hopefully they go out and chase their passions too, because you don't really know why you're here on earth. You're just here, so you may as well follow these things and create meaning for yourself, not do what society tells you is normal and this is how we've structured it, because what is that anyway? You know what I mean? I've never really connected with that. So I want to, whilst all this travel is a lot, it does take a toll on me mentally, like not having money really. Like I have the degrees to have money. I could go out and get the 9 to 5, but why would I do that? I would trade that to have a life in the mountains and kind of scrape by any day. And a lot of people say that's unrealistic. What's the future? I don't know, but I'll get there in good time. And with, you know, a lot of lessons under my belt and a lot of experiences and support help people will support you if you support them. It all comes around and goes around. So that's kind of it's not such like a negative approach to challenges because there are times where I'm like in tears. I have a friend I just started crying at the gym yesterday. I was like, I don't know what to do about this. Like the budget is not adding up. But it's just voicing it to the community that, hey, I'm like struggling a little bit. So if I'm not fully present right now, you know why.
No, absolutely. And like I also think it makes the small things just like so much sweeter. Like I feel like whenever there's something that I'm like, oh, like I don't know if this is gonna work out, or like, oh, or people are gonna like this, or like anything like that, and then you get like a little bit of like a positive encouragement or like, a comment from somebody, it just makes it like the best thing in the entire world. And I feel like I'll get like excited about just like the most random things, or like, if somebody sends me an email that's like, "Hey Gracie, like I really like what you're doing and like I'd love to be a part of it in some way." I'm just like, "That's it. I could just die now." Like that's it. Like that just made my entire year.
Yeah, because you're
uh,
growing something and
yeah.
that's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like with all of that, it's just like, yeah, the support and community behind it, and it is worth it, even when it's really not awesome.
Well, it's like, what isn't, time, all you've got is time, right? It's just about like how you feel it. So it's like if you can put food on the table and you have a support network and you have a roof over your head and, there are payments you have to make, but the rest of it's like, go and get it, go and follow that passion, make it happen if you can. Yeah.
hmm Okay, so going forward, like, what are like three things in the next little bit that you're like really properly excited about?
Yeah. This weekend, I don't know. I have a good feeling that I've got nothing to lose. So many friends, so many events. I'm trying to have a nap today because I need to start building some energy to survive the weekend. A new start in Europe, even if it's not forever. It is a home base for a little while, and learning French. I'm trying my best, so that's great. And also just growing my music career as much as I can alongside sport. I have so much I have learned recently, and that now that's been unlocked to me, I want to create. So I guess, yeah, those three things are really inspiring me moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Okay, if you had to give like yourself 3 to 5 years ago. See, and then now I feel like I keep asking this question, and then I like get a little bit terrified because I'm like, oh, 5 years ago was like COVID, and then I'm like, how is that already 5 years ago? But if you had to give yourself any your younger self any advice from then, what do you think it would be?
I would tell that girl not to worry as much because you have everything it takes and all the tools to make your dreams happen, and be more confident because no one really is actually that confident. Some people are just better at faking it. Um, so go after it, head held high, and really chase the dreams earlier than I thought I believed I could.
And do you have anything else to leave listeners on today?
um, I've just said it too many times in this podcast. Chase your passions because every day is another gift to you to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm. And where can people find you? And how can people support you?
Yeah, Instagram. I don't have TikTok. Have no time for that. So it's like Lara_Hamilton. Um, and I have a website which is also just my name, www.larahamilton.com, and I like to do a lot of writing on there. Yeah, so that's my main platforms, and if they want to listen to music, it's SoundCloud and it's under my name. There's not a lot on there right now, but there is more coming.
Thanks so much for tuning in today. I hope that you enjoyed this episode and got to learn a little bit more about Laura and everything that she has going on. We are also going to be at Broken Arrow this weekend. And when I say we, I mean the Wander team, my sister Sophia and I. And we're going to be following along some of these updates from the race. So make sure to stay tuned to our Instagram to see all of the updates that are happening. And once again, thank you again so much for listening. And I hope that everybody has a wonderful rest of their week.